Hey everyone, welcome to Plan Sem Politics. I have an update to share about one of Trump's Capitol insurrectionists. It's time for an episode of Where Are They Now?
Matthew Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
So 38-year-old Virginia Spencer, she also goes by the name of Jenny Spencer. She's a North Carolina resident, and she and her husband, Christopher, were both seen in photos and surveillance video inside the Capitol on January 6th. Virginia was wearing a shirt that said, "Fuck gun control," and that was in all caps because, who cares about kids being murdered in school, right? Anyway, speaking of children, Virginia and Christopher took someone with them on January 6th, one of their 5 children. So yes, this pair of mental giants thought that it was a great idea to take their 14-year-old son to and inside the Capitol so he could get a taste of hate, racism, criming. You want to get that in at an early age. And they live stream their crimes straight to Facebook, which made it really easy for the FBI to locate these stable geniuses. Well, on January 19th, the FBI interviewed both of the Spencers, and Virginia admitted that they marched to the Capitol behind people who look like militia members. She admitted to seeing barricades, seeing officers arresting people who were climbing on scaffolding. She admitted to seeing tear gas and percussion grenades going off. But, these people thought, yeah, why not? Let's keep going with our child in tow. So they got to the Capitol, and as with many of these defendants, the Spencers claim they told the FBI that they were pushed into the building. And while they were inside, they were seen on camera, again, because they live streamed it, but there's also surveillance video. But they were seen joining with others, moving further into the building. They were chanting, "Whose house? Our house." And the Spencers were also seen on surveillance video entering the wing of the Capitol, which houses Nancy Pelosi's office. And that was before they then headed to Statuary Hall. So Virginia's husband was heard in this live stream video saying things like, "We in this motherfucker," and "Kick that motherfucker open." And that was while others were chanting to break down a door. So according to the affidavit, you could hear people in the background. They were repeatedly screaming and chanting things like, "Open the door, break it down, stop the steal." You could also, according to the affidavit, hear other people yelling what they called, quote, vulgarities at the officers. They were taunting them. And Virginia is then seen on video. She walks over to an officer. Then when she returns to her husband and son, she relays the conversation that she had with the officer. And she claims that she told the officer something to the effect of, "This is not just for us, this is for you guys too." Her husband then asked her what the cop said in return, and Virginia claimed, quote, "He said, 'I know, but the point's been made. The point's been made.' I said, 'Well, it's bullshit.' He said, 'I know it is. I know it is.'" Were there Trump-loving cops in the building that day who probably allowed way more than they should have? Absolutely. That's why some of them are being investigated, right? Without a doubt, some of these people, probably many of these cops, aligned with Donald Trump and his views. They should be fired, not for their political beliefs, but because they didn't do their job that day, because they didn't uphold their oath to protect the people in that building. I mean, any one of those people could have been carrying a bomb. And so if any of those cops just allowed them to waltz in, which we saw in some cases, not all cases, but in some cases, they just allowed them to move further into the building. That was, by the grace of God, a tragedy averted. But anyway, others were clearly targeted by the crowd, right? There were many of the officers who were standing their ground that day. The Spencers affidavit states that people were seen in the live stream sliding furniture down the hall, like at the officers. They were calling them effing traitors, pig, fascist. Christopher Spencer was heard yelling, quote, smile, motherfucker, smile, bitch, fucking traitor. Remember, this is while his 14-year-old son, his 14-year-old child, is standing next to him. So, Parents of the Year right here. So this live stream, it lasted more than 20 minutes, according to investigators. And the Spencers throughout this video never mentioned that they needed to leave. They never mentioned trying to find an exit. Yet when they were interviewed by the FBI, they claimed that, we got in the building and we looked at each other and said, we need to get out of here ASAP. And then they said that, we were in the building for no more than 15 minutes. And then we said we have to go. Sure, Jan. So too bad they forgot about their own video evidence, because it directly contradicts their so-called, sudden clarity after entering the building. So the Spencers were arrested on February 8th, and they were charged with obstructing an official proceeding, entering a restricted building or grounds, 2 counts of disorderly conduct, and 1 count of parading or demonstrating in a Capitol building. They were facing up to 20 years in prison for just the one obstruction charge, which is a felony, but they've since both taken plea deals. Now, Christopher is still awaiting sentencing, but Virginia was just sentenced. She was sentenced by District Judge Colleen Collar-Cotelli, I believe is how you pronounce it. And prosecutors were asking for 3 months in prison, 3 years of probation, and a $500 restitution fee. Her attorney, however, was asking for obviously just probation plus community service. And the judge told Spencer that she found it disturbing and a, quote, complete lack of judgment that they took their son with them. And the judge also said, quote, I also find it very hard to comprehend why you would bring a 14-year-old minor son to the Capitol. It must have been a traumatic experience to witness this kind of violence. Judge Collar-Cotelli also expressed skepticism. Apparently, Spencer apologized. I couldn't find in news reports what exactly she said, but the judge seemed a little skeptical about it. She said, quote, my question, which I still have, is whether she's accepted responsibility as to the significance of what she participated in. It was an insurrection, not just a protest. The goal to stop the certification of the presidential election and the peaceful transfer of power as guaranteed by the Constitution. And the judge said that facing the consequences of their actions, of her actions, is, quote, not the same thing as recognizing the significance of her participation and what it means for our democracy. So because of all this, because she brought a child and had that lapse of judgment, the judge gave the prosecutors everything they wanted, which is very rare. We have not seen this very often. She sentenced Virginia Spencer to 90 days in prison, 3 years of probation, and she ordered her to pay a $500 restitution fee. I think this should be the standard sentence. I think this is legitimate for the nonviolent January 6th defendants. Now, unless they made threatening statements after the fact, or if they took some other additional concerning actions that would portend more violence, more criminal acts, then of course, in that case, I think their sentences should be increased from there. But I think this 90 days should be the bare minimum. This should be the floor for trying to overturn a legitimate election and, forcefully entering a federal building and scaring the hell out of people, terrorizing people, literally a domestic terrorist attack. That's what I think. Anyway, I'll let you guys know when I hear about her husband, of course. The child obviously is not going to be charged or anything. It's not his fault that he has idiots for parents. So thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care. I'll talk with you soon.